Here on the Low Spec Gamer, we take pride in introducing modern games to Mosh to run them on low-end computers. Except when they are Arkham Knight, which still refuses any sort of user modification. Why do you do this to me, Arkham Knight? I started this channel with the explicit purpose of getting to you. Why? But who needs that when you have the original Arkham Asylum, the game that started the greatest superhero video game franchise ever, and the one game that reignited my passion for superheroes, convincing me that modern gaming could be amazing. Will we be able to somehow get this game to work on an Intel Atom stick computer? We're about to find out, right after this short message. Because this video is possible due to a sponsorship from Alliance Heroes of the Spire, a mobile game with thousands of heroes combination that really puts your skills to the test. Real-time PvP, crazy giant bosses, never-ending hero combinations and massive guilds, all on mobile. Sound cool? Download the game from my links below and get 50,000 gold and 50 gems for free. And thank you to them for sponsoring this video and continue making Low Spec Gamer a reality. For those unaware, Batman Arkham Asylum was an Unreal Engine 3 game released in 2009. Its minimum requirements put it right in the space of what you would expect to be able to easily run on a conventional modern laptop or desktop. Which is why I'm using the Intel Stick B2. I made a dedicated video on this ultra-portable computer. It sports an Atom X5 C8300 with its Intel HD graphics and just 2 gigs of RAM. Starting from the lowest settings, the game is already very flexible, with plenty of low-resolution textures and shadows disabled. But as usual, we can go farther. The configuration files are located in your document folder, Square Enix, Batman Arkham Asylum, BM Game, Config, and we will modify User Engine and BM Engine. On User Engine, navigate to the System Settings section, and in here you can disable lens flares, depth of field, and dynamic lights. The change in dynamic lights will be noticeable right away, mainly in the coloring of certain scenes. Furthermore, BM Engine has its own System Settings section. Here you can disable decals, and there's a second variable for dynamic lights in case disabling the other one didn't work, and the same goes for depth of field and lens flares. Do not disable directional light maps. As with most Unreal Engine 3 games, this makes all surfaces pitch black. Now for weaker GPUs, such as the one I am using, you can reduce internal resolution with screen scale. So even if you're running the game on 1080, the real render resolution will be a percentage of that, but upscaled back to the external resolution. It preserves text readability while having all the advantages of a lower resolution in terms of performance. And finally, as usual, the texture groups control the maximum and minimum sizes of most of the game's textures. If you reduce them all to 1, you basically force the game to look like this. Batman has always been a flexible hero, from campy to broody boy to mudman. Interestingly enough, on these conditions, the game does manage to keep going. It drops to around 25 on some of the larger rooms and oh god, look at this beautiful overworld. In general, the game manages to keep around playable levels. There is plenty of space needed to fight effectively. Something interesting that I noticed is just how well visually designed this game is. Without any sort of detail, and with most surfaces being one color, it is perfectly able to read the room as well as the location and actions of enemies. This is possible due to some really clever level design with some fantastic animation that makes it very easy to see when an enemy is going to attack or approach you in some way. They really do not make them that they used to. Actually, some of the later games in this franchise introduced some fantastic improvements. I just wish there was an easier way to reduce their graphics. You get back into the blacklist, back I say! Thank you to this video sponsor for helping me keep the channel going, for the patrons for contributing, and you for watching.